Archangel Michael says, someone is watching you, not scrolling, not simply browsing. No, this is something far more calculated, far more intentional. There is a shadow in the code, and heaven has just revealed it to me. This watcher is not a casual observer. They are tracking, tracing, and recording pieces of your digital essence, your words, your searches, your interactions. You may have sensed it, the strange heaviness after being online, the subtle anxiety rising after certain messages, the feeling of being spiritually drained after visiting specific spaces. This is not your imagination. It's spiritual interference disguised in digital clothing. Their purpose is not innocent. This is no passive interest. They seek to gather, to harvest data that reflects your patterns, your thoughts, your next move. Why? Because you are carrying something sacred. Something powerful. And those who walk in shadows always try to get ahead of the light. They are not just tracking what you do. They are watching who you're becoming. This surveillance has a spiritual signature. It began when you started rising, when your awakening intensified, when heaven began to release prophetic insight to you. That's when the invisible alarms went off in the realms of darkness. You were marked, not by men, but by the enemy's fear. And so, a hidden force was released, a person, a spirit, a system, to study your moves in silence. To whisper thoughts of doubt. To clone your patterns and mirror your energy, hoping to anticipate your next divine move before it manifests. But what they don't know is this. Heaven always sees first. And heaven always warns first. You may not know who they are yet. But trust me, their eyes are not unfamiliar. Whether through a mutual connection, a spiritual adversary from the past, or a stranger hiding behind digital masks, their intent is cloaked in secrecy, but not from heaven. I have stood over your energy field and have seen their shadow slither across your screen. Do not panic. Do not spiral. Stand firm. For this awareness is your power. The exposure of their presence is the beginning of their fall. Archangel Michael says. Now, I ask you to pause. Breathe deeply. Reflect with me for a moment. Type Amen 685 to get the divine blessings. Have you been feeling increasingly unsettled while using certain apps or platforms? Have you noticed familiar faces interacting with your content suddenly disappear, or be replaced with strange, repetitive accounts? Have you had dreams recently about being observed or recorded? These are not coincidences. These are divine confirmations. A monitoring spirit has attempted to attach itself through technological gateways. But now that you know, it can be removed. It can be cast down. The first step. Acknowledgement. The second. Alignment with divine protection. Your online life is part of your spiritual territory. And what is yours must be protected, not just in the natural, but in the realm of the spirit. Heaven has now begun placing its fire around your mind, your words, your screen. You are not alone. You are not helpless. You are watched, but you are also guarded. And as of today, they're no longer invisible. You must understand, this is not random. What you are experiencing is not mere curiosity or passive observation. This surveillance is intentional, and it carries a specific purpose: control. They are not just watching you for entertainment. No. They are watching because they want to influence the outcomes of your life. They want to redirect your decisions, steal your timing, and interfere with your alignment. This is not just digital espionage, it is spiritual sabotage disguised in algorithms. Let me tell you what I see from heaven's vantage point. Type Amen 4959 to get the divine blessings. Archangel Michael says, this individual, or network of individuals, is attempting to gather enough of your patterns to anticipate your next move. They're watching your rhythms, when you're most active, what inspires you, what drains you. They take note of the moments when you post with power and when you go silent in spiritual exhaustion. They mark your emotional high points and your breakdowns. Why? Because in their world, knowledge is power. And control is their weapon. The enemy is trying to gather intel on you, not for documentation, but domination. This isn't new, dear one. Throughout history, the enemy has always tried to get ahead of God's appointed ones. The Pharaoh watched Moses. Saul watched David. The religious elite watched Jesus. Surveillance has always been a tool of those afraid of light. And now, the same tactic is being used, only this time, through screens, servers, and secret group chats. Archangel Michael speaks plainly to you now. They're not trying to learn from you. They're trying to stop you. They hope that by observing your life long enough, they'll find an entry point, a vulnerable hour, a broken place, a triggering memory, to exploit. Their goal is to insert a well-timed message, a digital distraction, or an emotional landmine to throw you off course right before your breakthrough. But here is what heaven decrees, they're already too late. Because you are no longer operating blindly. You are awakening. And now that the light has exposed the darkness, its power is crumbling. Every silent whisper about you, every fake account used to track your steps, every encrypted conversation meant to plan your delay, is now being unraveled by divine fire. Archangel Michael says, you have a divine calling that terrifies those who live in manipulation. And so, their only hope was to stay ahead of you. But heaven has reversed the script. Now they are behind. Now they are losing control. Now, they are being watched. Type Amen 3045 to get the divine blessings. Let me ask you, my beautiful child. Have you noticed sudden confusion around decisions you were once clear on? Has your intuition been blocked after visiting certain websites or messages? Have you hesitated to move forward on something powerful, as if a cloud appeared out of nowhere? These are not your thoughts. These are planted seeds from a digital spirit of confusion. But the moment you recognize the source, you reclaim the authority. You are not meant to be a pawn in someone else's digital plan. You are meant to be the divinely appointed disruptor of it. So I ask you now. Will you take back your mind, your voice, your space? Will you stand in the authority that heaven is reactivating in you today? Because this is more than online activity. This is spiritual warfare. And you were born to win. Now that you understand the why, it's time I reveal the how. You must know, this isn't just about physical devices or internet connections. What's happening is much more intricate, because they are using technology, yes, but they are also using something else. They've opened a spiritual backdoor. Archangel Michael says, I need you to listen carefully now. This isn't science fiction. This is spiritual fact. There are those who have learned to manipulate technology not just with code, but with intention. With energy. With ritual. And some of them have used these tactics to gain access to your energetic field through your online habits. Type Amen 3904 to get the divine blessings. They are using what seems like harmless apps, inbox messages, screen sharing invitations, and links to plant spiritual bugs in your digital space. Not every post you interact with is neutral. Some carry spiritual frequencies that bind, distract, or drain. This is cyber sorcery, cloaked in algorithms. It begins when you click without discernment. A video that seems innocent opens a vibration that lingers. A comment thread that stirs anger opens a channel of agreement. An unsolicited message carries not just words, but intent, and if you open it, you open a gate. These are the access points the enemy is using. These are the spiritual cookies they're planting to trace your steps. And when they see where your spirit is headed, they try to intercept it. But heaven is not silent. You are not vulnerable simply because you use the internet. You are vulnerable when you do not consecrate your space. When you do not declare your screen, your posts, your voice as holy ground. This is what the enemy fears, your awareness. Your awakening. Your alignment. Because once you realize they've set up a surveillance system, you are empowered to dismantle it. I have seen some of the platforms where your name is being whispered. Private forums. Deleted messages. Accounts made only to observe, not interact. I have seen their spiritual fingerprints, and I have now dispatched angels to trace the infection back to its source. Type Amen 3045 to get the divine blessings. But I ask you now to participate. Archangel Michael says, have you been feeling confused, heavy, or off after receiving certain DMs or emails? Have you clicked something recently that felt energetically dark, even though it looked normal? Do you ever feel like something is watching you the moment you get online? These are signs that someone has tampered with the energetic frequency around your digital presence. This is not paranoia. It is prophetic discernment. But do not fear, for what they opened in secret, heaven will shut in power. You must begin the process of spiritual disconnection. Not just with people, but with portals. Cleanse your devices. Renounce any link, file, message, or media that brought spiritual heaviness. Speak life into your timelines, your emails, your voice notes. Invite the fire of God into your cloud storage. Speak directly to the frequencies around you. I am now circling your online world with divine flames. No spirit shall pass without heaven's permission. No file shall load that carries a curse. No watcher shall remain hidden. You are now aware. And awareness is the beginning of authority. The time for clarity has come. I have given you the signs. I have exposed the shadow. And now, I will bring you face to face with the source. Type Amen 3042 to get the divine blessings. You must be ready, because this will not be just a metaphor. This will be literal. A name is about to surface. A face is about to be revealed. The one behind the surveillance, spiritual or digital, is about to make a mistake they cannot reverse. Heaven has authorized an exposure. They will reveal themselves by error, but heaven will ensure that you recognize it. A message sent to the wrong person. An accidental click. A glitch in an app. A change in energy when they enter a room or send you a text. Their spirit will tremble near you, not because you are weak, but because your power has now been activated. For too long, they hid in plain sight. Smiling in public, scheming in private. Acting indifferent, while collecting your every move. Pretending to be neutral, while quietly feeding on your light. But my beautiful child, you were never meant to remain blind to this. This person, yes, a real person, may be closer than you think. In fact, you may already know them. They may be an ex-friend, a family member, a past romantic partner, or even someone who once claimed to support your calling. But somewhere along the way, envy crept in. Obsession grew. And instead of choosing healing, they chose monitoring. Archangel Michael says, they couldn't stop thinking about you. They couldn't look away from your progress. So they turned to digital means to stay near while remaining in the shadows. But heaven saw. Heaven always sees. Type Amen 938 to get the divine blessings. And now, that same heaven is turning the mirror around. The watcher is about to be watched. Prepare yourself, because the moment of revelation may shake you. It may come suddenly. You may hear someone mention them by name and feel a chill. You may scroll and see a forgotten name suddenly pop up. You may discover an anonymous account that leads back to them by a single careless comment. But I urge you, do not respond in fear. Respond in authority. Because you will not confront them alone. I will be beside you, and so will legions of angels. They will not be able to hide behind usernames or devices. Their digital veil is being burned by celestial light. Let me ask you now. Have you recently seen someone from your past reappear without reason? Did you receive a message that felt off, like it carried an agenda? Have you felt the nudge of your spirit pulling your eyes toward a person you once ignored? These are not accidents. These are heaven's breadcrumbs, leading you to the truth. Type Amen 239 to get the divine blessings. Archangel Michael says, when you see them, do not shrink. Rise. For this exposure is not just for your clarity. It is for your elevation. Because once the hidden hand is revealed, the spell breaks. The fear dissolves. The mystery collapses. And the one who thought they had power over you, will realize it was heaven who held the power all along. The dark interference, the spiritual wiretaps, the schemes wrapped in technology, they end now. As the truth is unveiled and the shadowy figure is brought into light, I bring you even greater news. A divine firewall is being placed around you. Yes, just as human systems use protective barriers to keep out hackers and threats, heaven too has its own technology. It is not made of wires and metal, it is made of fire and light. Of angels and codes. Of divine encryption that no darkness can bypass. As of this moment, your online territory, your thoughts, your messages, your platforms, your digital voice, is being surrounded by an invisible yet impenetrable wall of protection. Type Amen 3904 to get the divine blessings. You didn't even have to ask. Because God saw the warfare before it reached your inbox. And now, heaven is moving to intercept. Archangel Michael says, my beautiful child, I need you to understand, you are not a victim. You are not weak. Your discernment was never broken. The fact that you felt the disturbance means you are spiritually alert. You knew something was wrong. You just didn't have the full picture, until now. But because you remained open to divine instruction, because you listened when your spirit said, this doesn't feel right, heaven has stepped in with force. You are being sealed. Every point of digital contact that was once spiritually open is now being closed by angelic hands. The mirrors they used to spy are shattering. The spiritual microphones they planted are melting in the flame of the Most High. Their entry points are being revoked. Their monitoring is being rerouted, right into heaven's court. Now they're the ones being watched. Let this be clear, you are untouchable when you're covered in divine fire. You may still hear whispers. You may still feel a presence try to stir the atmosphere. But they can no longer cross the threshold. They've been blocked by the firewall of heaven's decree. And now, I give you your part to play. You must speak protection aloud. You must reclaim your voice in the digital realm. Type Amen 2044 to get the divine blessings. These are not empty words. These are spiritual commands. Divine fire responds to faith. And angels respond to declarations. When you speak, we move. When you align, we activate. Have you noticed it yet? The fog is lifting. The pressure is breaking. Because now you know who you are. And more importantly, the enemy knows it too. Soon, you will feel a shift. A lightness in your digital space. A peace when you log in. A strength when you post or speak. That's not just a mood, that's your firewall in action. So stand boldly. Archangel Michael says. Because what once tracked you, can no longer touch you. Now you must understand the deeper reason behind the surveillance, the real reason they've been watching. It's not because they're bored. It's not because they're simply curious. No. It's because you carry something they desperately want. Your presence, your voice, your divine assignment holds weight in the unseen realm. You have something encoded within you, a spiritual authority, a sacred frequency, a divine pattern that threatens their agenda. And they want to access it, manipulate it, even steal it. But here is the sacred truth I must deliver to you now. Type Amen 2094 to get the divine blessings. They can't take it without your permission. You see, heaven has placed spiritual laws around your soul. Even the darkest forces cannot override those boundaries unless you unknowingly agree. And that is exactly what they've been trying to get you to do. They attempt to infiltrate not through force, but through influence. Through subtle manipulation. Through emotional warfare. Through distractions dressed as harmless conversations. Through digital traps that seem like opportunities but are spiritually encoded with delay. They hope you'll react. They hope you'll spiral. They hope you'll doubt yourself. Because if you give in to fear, they gain an opening. But listen to me now, you have more power than they do. They've been watching your online presence to study your emotional cycles. They know when you're most vulnerable, after a heartbreak, after rejection, after confusion. That's when they strike. That's when they message. That's when the bait appears. But what they didn't account for, is your resilience. Archangel Michael says. My beautiful child, your light has become unbearable for them to ignore. Your digital space, your words, your art, your silence, is charged with something holy. They want to extract what's inside you before you fully realize the impact you're destined to have. Type Amen 2945 to get the divine blessings. But they can't have it. Because your spirit is sealed. Your consent cannot be tricked out of you anymore. You are rising in awareness. You are seeing behind the veil. You are hearing heaven's voice more clearly than ever before, and every attempt to manipulate you is now being caught in mid-air by angels. Now I ask you, have you been tempted to abandon your voice lately? Have you felt spiritually blocked just as you were about to launch, speak, or post something powerful? Have messages or distractions conveniently appeared the moment you prepared to step forward? That's not coincidence. That's spiritual surveillance trying to cause spiritual silence. But now, their influence is breaking. You are not their victim. You are heaven's vessel. They want what you carry, because they know it's about to shake the earth. Type Amen 0294 to get the divine blessings. And now, because you have denied them consent, their entire plan is crumbling. Now that heaven has revealed the darkness, now that you understand the agenda, and now that you've revoked consent, it's time for action. It's time to cleanse. To reset. To rebuild your space with heaven's fire. Because although the digital attacks may have been subtle, their spiritual residue can still linger, in your devices, in your memory, even in the unseen threads of energy that flow through your connections. But fear not. I have been sent to show you how to dismantle every last trace. You are about to receive a divine cyber shield. This shield isn't man-made. It's not a software you can download. It is constructed through faith, declaration, and spiritual intention. Every action you take from this moment on will seal you in a realm of spiritual protection where the enemy can no longer eavesdrop, interfere, or manipulate your destiny. Physically and spiritually go through your devices. Delete old messages that carry shame, confusion, or emotional triggers. Unfollow accounts that drain your energy or distort your peace. Clear out emails or files you've been avoiding that feel heavy when you open them. Type Amen 4589 to get the divine blessings. This may sound small, but it is powerful. Yes, even your digital world must be consecrated. Watch how the atmosphere shift. Now, listen carefully. The divine cyber shield is active. The fire is consuming the breach. And you, my beautiful child, are now protected beyond what any digital force can touch. My beautiful child, listen with full attention, for this is no longer a warning, but a divine activation. A spiritual firewall has now been ignited around you by the decree of the Most High. Archangel Michael has drawn his sword and drawn a line between what was once exposed and what now must be protected by heaven's fire. But here is the truth you must not overlook: heaven can shield you, but you must also rise as a guardian of your own gate. Yes, the monitoring eyes were real. Yes, the intention behind it was dark and manipulative. And yes, their attempt to distort your truth, to trap you through what you clicked, searched, or watched, has already backfired. But do not mistake the divine covering for a permanent silence. This is not a moment to return to spiritual sleep. This is not a time to assume the danger has passed. This is the beginning of your spiritual cybersecurity training, where heaven teaches your soul to discern the unseen, to guard the invisible, and to speak only when Spirit prompts. Type Amen 9384 to get the divine blessings. Archangel Michael says, your online trail may have been watched, but your destiny has been encrypted in divine light. No demon, hacker, watcher, or hidden enemy can decode what heaven has marked as protected. But your awareness is key now. Stay awake. Stay wise. They are still watching, but they no longer have access. They are still searching, but they cannot locate the blueprint. They are still guessing, but they've already missed the window. You are walking forward now with celestial stealth. What was meant to trap you has now become the very mirror that reflects their own darkness. Let this message be the seal: you are hidden in plain sight, covered by the glory of the Most High, and Archangel Michael will not leave your post. Now, rise. Step forward. And walk boldly under divine surveillance, where the only eyes upon you are heaven's. Type Amen 475 to get the divine blessings.